You're watching City Channel 4, your window to our community.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Iowa City People for Justice in Palestine, I would like to welcome you all to tonight's very special program, Stating the Case. What does UN recognition mean for Palestine? Before I introduce tonight's speakers, let me first take care of a few housekeeping details. First, our group, Iowa City People for Justice in Palestine, meets the first and third Tuesdays of each month at the Old Capitol Mall food court. Free literature is available at the table opposite. There is also a sign-up sheet for our listserv if you would like more information on our events and programs. As a heads up, we are very pleased to announce that a distinguished visitor from abroad will be in town in the month of March to do a program for us. He is Fareed Isaaq, a progressive Muslim scholar, activist, and author from South Africa, and he will be talking about the parallels he sees between the Israeli occupation and South African apartheid. The date of the lecture, as you can see, is set for the 30th of March, and it's right here at 3 o'clock p.m. Also in March, we will be remembering and celebrating the life of Rachel Corrie, the peace activist with Iowa ties who was brutally murdered by an Israeli army bulldozer driver while peacefully defending a Palestinian home against illegal demolition in Gaza 10 years ago on the 16th of March, 2003. Her outstanding heroism in defense of an innocent family and the Palestinian nation is acclaimed all over the world and will never be forgotten. There is information on the Rachel Corrie Foundation at the back table also. Tonight's program will be followed by a question and answer period. Cards are provided for you to write down any questions you have, and we will ask as many as time permits. This program will be broadcast on the City Channel. As goes without saying, this is a controversial and emotional topic. The audience is asked to show civility and restraint and reserve their comments to the question and answer period that follows. We do advise, however, that any disruption of events at the public library is a violation of city ordinances and can become a police matter. No recording of this program other than what we have arranged is permitted. And please, as a courtesy to our speakers and guests, silence cell phones. Now to tonight's program and some background on our topic. On the 29th of November 2012, the United Nations General Assembly overwhelmingly approved Palestine's application to upgrade its status from that of an observer to a non-member state, a status similar to that of the Vatican. November's victory came after defeat in the fall of 2011, when, under U.S. pressure, the UN Security Council failed to accept Palestine's bid to become a full UN member. Despite its limitations, the new UN vote is considered a historic breakthrough because it constitutes the first substantive international recognition of the fact that Palestine is a real country. The new status will give Palestine access to some UN bodies formerly off limits, including possibly the International Criminal Court. The lopsided vote, 138-9 with 41 abstentions, underscores the fact that a powerful international consensus supports self-determination for the dispossessed Palestinian people. But unfortunately, our own country, the USA, is standing in the way of progress. Those of us who had hoped for change have once again been disappointed. In his speech at Cairo on the 4th of June 2009, President Obama told us the following, and I quote, Let there be no doubt, the situation for the Palestinian people is intolerable. America will not turn our backs on the legitimate Palestinian aspirations for dignity, opportunity, and a state of their own. The U.S. does not accept the legitimacy of continued Israeli settlements. This construction violates previous agreements and undermines efforts to achieve peace. It is time for these settlements to stop, unquote. These words from our president are powerful, and they created a strong impression at the time. Despite this stirring pronouncement, however, Washington's policy did not really change. On the 18th of February 2011, the U.S. vetoed a draft UN Security Council resolution condemning the settlements, all of which, of course, are violations of international law, namely the Fourth Geneva Convention, Article 49. The vote in that case was 14-1. The U.S. was the sole dissenter. The resolution was supported by all of America's European allies and had over 100 co-sponsors. The U.S. argument is that the UN is not the place to resolve the settlement controversy or the issue of Palestinian statehood. Rather, these matters should be dealt with in direct negotiations between the two parties. However, even a cursory look at history shows that this argument does not hold a lot of water. In September of this year, we will mark the 20th anniversary of the Oslo peace process. The direct peace talks between Israel and Palestine, inaugurated with a dramatic signing ceremony on the White House lawn with Yasser Arafat, Yitzhak Rabin, and Bill Clinton. It seemed like a splendid, rapturous moment, like when Nelson Mandela walked out of prison. But what have these 2 decades brought for the people of Palestine? In the period of most active negotiations from 1993 to 2000, the West Bank settler population actually doubled. In other words, at the very time Israel pretended to be willing to trade land for peace, it was relentlessly chipping away even at the small territory left to Palestine. In 2003, the U.S. launched the so-called Roadmap for Peace, which called for a freeze on settlement expansion even for so-called natural growth. Israel shamelessly violated this provision. In 2009 and 10, the Obama administration got the Netanyahu government to agree to a new settlement freeze, which should have been superfluous after the roadmap. But this freeze was both temporary and full of holes, and it was not renewed when it expired in the fall of 2010, despite lavish bribes the Obama administration was willing to offer in the form of advanced military aircraft. The so-called freeze did not even meaningfully impede settlement expansion, and the pace of annexationist activity was especially rapid last year. Friends, the results of U.S. policy are clear. Palestine is being whittled away to nothing, while American politicians counsel the Palestinians and the international community to just be patient and go on to aggressively block any stronger measures. Washington claims to support a two-state compromise, but that requires a national border. Israel's illegal and unilateral actions have the effect of erasing any border and making compromise impossible, even while the demographic realities are changing and the country is evolving into a strict minority rule regime. Already, Israel's policy of settlement and forced relocation has created a 2-to-1 settler majority in Area C, the largest area of the West Bank. If we consider the total territory under Israeli effective control, including both Israel and the occupied territories, there already is a Palestinian majority. But the vast majority of these people live under military occupation and have no political rights at all. This gives the lie to Israel's claim to be a democracy. The repressive policies Israel uses to stamp out any resistance to its discriminatory regime have devastating consequences. The NGO Save the Children warned last summer that the children of besieged Gaza are facing nothing short of a health crisis. 10% of those under 5 suffer from stunting of growth from malnutrition, and the majority of all children and 2/3 of children 9 to 12 months old suffer from anemia. Israel's checkpoints, roadblocks, and the so-called security barrier, 85% of which is located inside the West Bank, not between the West Bank and Israel. These measures stifle agriculture and commerce and rob the people of hope for the future. The U.S. answer to all of this is for us to stand by, watch, issue the occasional tactful protest, and urge the parties to return to the negotiating table. It isn't any wonder that the Palestinians have had enough. They are going over the heads of Israel and the grotesquely biased American, quote, peace broker, and appealing directly to the people of the world. November's UN vote brought swift retaliation. Israel immediately announced that it would withhold the tax revenue it collects on behalf of the PA, without which the latter cannot pay salaries and carry out basic administrative functions. And Israel announced immediate plans to build 3,000 additional settler housing units in Jerusalem and in the area known as E1. E1, which stretches from Jerusalem to the Israeli settlement of Ma'ale Adumim, effectively cuts the West Bank in half and makes a viable Palestinian state impossible. Friends, our speakers tonight are eminently well qualified to address this harsh reality, as both are Palestinians with a direct personal connection to events we can only read about or observe from a distance. John DeBeat is an economist and chair of the business department of Muscatine Community College. He was a student activist in Palestine, where he was imprisoned for nonviolent resistance to the occupation. He has close personal ties with many of the leaders in Fatah and the PA, and was involved in the UN vote, of whose historic significance he is fully convinced. Yasser Abu Daga is a computer engineer from Iowa City, whose family still lives in Gaza. He's had relatives who fell victim to the violence unleashed by Israel. He sounds a more skeptical note on the significance of the UN vote, noting that not much has changed on the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to John DeBeat and Yasser Abu Daga.
Well, good evening. I would like to start by thanking the People for Justice in Palestine, and especially Jason. Thanks for the great introduction. My name is John Dabeet. I'm Palestinian. I was born in Jerusalem, Palestine, and finished my high school education and also my bachelor degree from Bethlehem University, Bethlehem, Palestine, and moved after that to United States to continue my education, first in Pennsylvania, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, then moved to Iowa in 1995. Since then, I have been working at Muscatine Community College and the chair of the business department there. I teach economics and statistics, so statistics are very important for me. I'm also the president and the founder of the Americans and Palestinians for Peace, which is a nationwide organization, not-profit organization, works on behalf of Palestinians, mainly in United States. We do different things. One of them, education. We participate in debates, in events like that. We travel all over and talk to people about the Palestinian issue. Another thing we do mainly is simply we lobby. We go and participate in meetings at State Department, United Nations, as a NGO, non-governmental organization. So we participate in some United Nations meetings and so on. And that's another thing. So that's mainly what we do. Lately, we decided to branch out and start working on what I call social aspect of the Palestinian society, and mainly kids. During my last visit to Palestine, around 2 years ago, we decided to put a big smile on kids' faces by donating school bags, full of everything that you can imagine that kids needs, from coloring books to everything that you can imagine. And we try to cover as many Palestinian kids as we can. Those are the kids that most probably they can go throughout their life in school without even dreaming of carrying a brand new bag again, or school bag. During also that visit, I was appointed to direct the United Nations, or what we call the United Nations State, Palestinian State 194. And I came back from that visit and I started to work right away. And I remember around a year and a half ago, I was here talking to this organization and people there, and I stood up and I said that the Palestinian rights are not up for negotiation anymore. And I meant what I said, and we say usually what we mean. And we work very hard. We work day and night trying to get, again, the Security Council to accept Palestine as the new Palestinian State 194. Of course, as Jason mentioned, it wasn't really an easy ride. Israel kept putting all their pressure on some countries in the Security Council, plus also their pressure on the United States to use the veto. So we find out that, this is not going to be really a great route for us to achieve what we want to achieve. From the beginning, even when I had meetings with Palestinian leadership in Ramallah, my advice was very simple. Let's go to the General Assembly right away and get what we call the non-state member in the United Nations. As I said again, the Palestinian leadership decided to try, first of all, the full state status, and we couldn't achieve that, which is fine. So we decided to go the other route. But also, let's not forget that also in 2011, after we submitted the request to the Security Council, and I was there. As a matter of fact, I was leading all the events outside the United Nations after President Mahmoud Abbas delivered his speech at the United Nations. I left the United Nations and I went outside and delivered the speech on behalf of the PLO and the National Campaign for State of Palestine 194 to the crowd outside the United Nations. And I remember it was a rainy day, but it was really fun to be in New York also and seeing thousands and thousands and thousands lifting the Palestinian flags in front of the United Nations and chanting for Palestine, for free Palestine, for independent Palestine, and that is very important. So let's not forget also, we didn't give up. As I said, Palestinian rights are not up for negotiation anymore. And we meant what we said. We didn't stop working. We kept working very hard. But guess what? By December of the same year, I'm sure you remember that the Palestinian flag was raised on the UNESCO, again, of 2011. Again, we were accepted as a full state member at the UNESCO. And it didn't come from nowhere. As a matter of fact, it came because a lot of people committed to work very hard again, day and night to achieve that. We kept talking about the whole issue again, all the way up until, again, we went through the General Assembly. What I decided to do is decided to go a little bit with some information here to share with you, and I look forward more for your answer. I mean, that will be very interactive. But again, I was heavily involved, and I'm still involved with the National Campaign for the Palestinian State number 194. That's something that I would like to highlight. Our bid to the United Nations, because I hear that from our Jewish friends sometimes, that, okay, well, you are declaring war on Israel by going to the United Nations. That's not true. That is not true. I will not buy this, and you should not buy this, because our bid to the United Nations, again, is an intention of peace and not a declaration of war. You cannot build friendship and good neighbors by building an apartheid wall. You cannot build, again, friendship and good neighbors by confiscating more and more lands to build more illegal settlements. This is the issue that the Israelis cannot understand so far. Unfortunately, cannot understand that. And we're going to continue to say that our Palestinian rights are not up for negotiation. There is no way that you can find one Palestinian, and I will guarantee that will give up an inch of 1967 borders. There's no way. This is our red lines. There is no way we give up that. And that's definitely the leadership. I'm talking about the leadership stand also when it comes to this issue. Remember, as I said again, we decided to go because our rights are not up for negotiation. This is my picture. You can see me in New York. You can see I tried to wrap myself with a lot of, Palestinian kufiya and Palestinian flag and so on. And my twin boys, I want them to grow up knowing that even though they were born in United States, but their heritage is Palestinians. And I want them to be proud of that. And that's why I want them to be with me even when we went to United Nations to declare or to ask for this membership. I want them to be witness. I want them to be there and be part of that. So this is something that I decided to share with you. Another thing is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Naturi Carter. Those are my friends. Those are the people who I work with day and night also for the same exact goal, which is free Palestine